Okay, there. Yeah, we're recording.
Okay, perfect. First of all, introduce yourself, just so we have your name and your spelling and what you do.
My name is Ingmar Lee. That's Ingmarlee, and I'm a carpenter living here near Bella Bella on the BC Central Coast.
Now, we won't go into great detail. You gave me a lot of information, the background and everything. But just from an emotional point of view, as a person who lives there and cares a lot about this area, what do you think about what's gone on the last 24 hours?
Well, it's very upsetting, of course, especially right off of Gale Pass there out in Seaforth Channel, which is an area that we know very intimately. But it's also something that has been entirely predictable. With this busy traffic, more than, this vessel does at least 30 or 40 trips a year up and down the entire BC coast, carrying a full load of petroleum products, 10,000 deadweight tons. Anybody who runs boats on this coast knows that the more you do it, the more risk you take. It's an accident guaranteed to happen.
Why is this so significant, this particular barge and tug?
Well, for one thing, it's an American tug. The Kirby Corporation is a Texas-based tug transport business, and it transports petroleum products from the Tesoro Anacortes refinery, which is in Washington State, and it traverses the entire BC coast. All the other tankers in BC are required to go out through Juan de Fuca. They can either come in Juan de Fuca or go out Juan de Fuca. These particular tug barge tankers are given special waivers from the Pacific Pilotage Authority, which gets them around the regular tanker regulations. They don't need to have any Canadian pilots. They don't need to have escort tugs when they're in Port Metro Vancouver. And they're allowed through Seymour Narrows. Like I say, all the other tankers have to go out through Juan de Fuca. So, they come right through Georgia Strait, right through Seymour Narrows at Campbell River, and then all the way up through Johnson Straits, right through the Great Bear Rainforest, right past here, and all the way up through Grenville Channel and Laredo Channel to Alaska. No Canadian jobs, no Canadian pilots, and no stops in Canada.
What do you think others should know about this business and what this particular tug and boat is doing in our waters?
Well, I can't understand it. I've appealed to politicians. I've written to Marc Garneau, the transport minister, and frankly, as far as I can see, any politician that shut this down would be a hero. It wouldn't cost them any political mileage. It'd be simple. Just, we're not trying to deprive the Alaskans of their petroleum products. There are solutions like, I don't like the idea that petroleum products are being transported by sea, but they need to get themselves a proper offshore tanker, like a Aframax or something like that, and run it 20 miles offshore, just like all the rest of the tankers have to do. Why they're allowed to run through our inside passage is just inconceivable to me, and I think it should be shut down and they should be made to do their business offshore. Just imagine if a Canadian tugboat started towing huge 10,000 deadweight ton barges through the Alaskan inside passages with no stops in America, no stops, no Canadian, American jobs or pilots. How long would that last? Not very long, I'll wager.
You called this a nightmare business when I talked to you this afternoon. What do you mean by that, and talk about that a bit?
Well, for example, tug barge are fraught with disaster. Just last year in 2015, there were 7 tug barge incidents that involved the sinkings of tugboats off the BC coast. Just in April this year, another large American tug and barge ran aground in Johnson Straits, just north of Chatham Point. In which case the barge overran the tug and smashed into the tug and then crashed into the forest and brought down trees right on deck and dislodged all their chains and cargo on deck and started leaking diesel, had to be towed back to Campbell River. I mean, this sort of incidents, there's just a litany of these incidents that happen constantly in the BC coast. These are narrow channels. We have big winds, we have offshore conditions. Right at the entrance to Seaforth Channel there are big seas. Like today it's not even particularly blowing, but there was a good 3-4 meter ocean swells rolling in, and you could hear that tug and barge just grinding away on the rocks. And frankly, in my opinion, with the falling tide and rising storm that we have tonight, I know they didn't get that barge off today, and as far as I'm concerned, it's going to be there forever. Once that barge gets punched through and sunk, they'll never get it off of there.
And we were talking today about the likelihood of this company continuing to do this journey with the barge and finding another tug for it. I mean, what would your feeling be about that?
Well, I'm doing everything I possibly can to stop this. I've been gathering my proper protocol permissions to do a speaking tour up and down the BC coast. I've already spoken in a few places. I've built a Facebook page called 10,000 Ton Tanker that relates specifically to this particular Texas tugboat, the Nathan E Stewart. That's the one that does the most trips. There are other ones. The biggest problem, I mean, it's not my neck of the woods, but the biggest problem with these articulated tug barge units is between Anacortes Tesoro Refinery and Kinder Morgan in Vancouver. There's huge ATB tug barge units that are transporting between Kinder Morgan, Westridge, and the Tesoro Refinery every day. And that goes right through southern resident killer whale habitat. And man, if there's a problem down there, it'll be just horrific. And I can be very confident that there will be a problem down there as well. I think these things just should be shut right down. The Texas-based Kirby Corporation has built its business with these ATBs, these articulated tug barge tankers, but they're for running up and down rivers, like they run them up the Mississippi. They're not designed to handle the kind of offshore conditions that we get here on the coast.
Now, you were also talking about people's feeling in the community. People are quite upset. What can you tell me about what people were talking about today when they were out where you were along the passage there?
Oh, well, it's hugely upsetting. Gale Pass is an area that even today the Haltzik community is very busy, involved in harvesting a wide range of seafood products, including clams. And Gale Pass is full of ancient clam gardens that have been, cultivated and nurtured and taken care of and looked after for, thousands of years. And, I was out there today and there was a whole flotilla of punts that came out from Bella Bella, and people are really upset about this. And, I went into Gale Pass today with our boat, and you could see the slick just flowing right in there with the tide and the current. There was a very clear slick, and it was the Haltzik people that were out there putting the booms across. They didn't get any help from the Coast Guard or anybody else. They were the ones out there deploying the booms to protect Gale Pass from the oil slick.
Now, just lastly, as you said, you've done all this tracking of it. You have the Facebook page, and you've done the videos, and is today very sadly kind of a "I told you so" moment for you? I mean, how much of that is there for you today?
Well, I just absolutely dreaded this day. Now, I'm very intent on shutting this thing down, and it's absolutely catastrophic. And tragically, it's these types of events that actually give you the mileage. Now, I would encourage people to give the Pacific Pilotage Authority CEO, Captain Kevin Obermeyer, a call and demand that this business is shut down. It's a simple stroke of the pen for him. He answers only to the Federal Transport Minister, Mark Garneau, and it's entirely up to him. He could, with the stroke of a pen, shut this traffic down tomorrow and make those make that business run offshore, just like all the other tankers have to do.
Yeah, no kidding. And I mean, this obviously isn't a good thing to happen. I mean, fortunately, in a way, the barge was empty, but who knows what next time. Is that kind of your feeling?
Well, absolutely. And if you look at the images of the barge hard aground there in Seaforth Channel, people should understand that when that thing is loaded with 10,000 tons, it's loaded right to the gunnels. There's only about a meter of freeboard between the water and the tops of the decks there. And that thing is just... if it had been loaded, it would have just been absolutely catastrophic. As it is, the 60,000 gallons of petroleum product that is now spewing into Seaforth Channel is horrific enough. It's just impossible to imagine 10,000 deadweight tons. I mean, it's estimated that the Exxon Valdez spewed 40,000 deadweight tons into the Gulf of Alaska, and it's still polluting and killing and damaging those beaches to this day. So this barge carries like a quarter of that spill volume.
Yeah, no kidding.
And once every 10 days, there's one of these loads.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, one of these loads goes by here once every 10 days.
Every 10 days?
Yeah.
Wow. And what's your feeling when it goes by these, every time you see it?
Well, I just hate it, and every time I do see it approaching on our AIS system, the automatic identification system, whereby ships have to broadcast their position as they travel up and down the coast, and you can go to marinetraffic.com and track it yourself. In fact, you can go see the Nathan E Stewart where it sits on the rocks right now. But when I go see it, I go out in my boat and I pay it a visit, and I tell them they're not welcome here and go back where you came from and don't come back. And they haven't been listening so far.
Yeah, no kidding. Okay, so that's great for this part. I also did watch your video, which is awesome. We'll probably use that as well, the Facebook video. So now, if you can push stop.
Okay.
Then